Governor, you know, that woman who was saying people who did not have like a mother and father. I was raised, I spent a good many years in an orphan's home in Nutley, New Jersey, you know, and I've always had to depend on the kindness of strangers. That comes out of a sweetheart named Desire. And I had a very dear friend who always told me, associate with the best and you'll be considered one of the best. Now, I am very proud to say I have a daughter who's top doctor in New Jersey, and also I have a son, business, and also another son who works for the United States Army, going around the thing. The thing is, I just want to question you on, now the motor vehicle department. I understand.
That was a hard right turn. We're talking about his great daughter is a doctor, his son is serving our nation in the Army, and we're getting back to the motor vehicle. All right, I'm following you, I'm with you, let's go.
What is this here? We're not going to have any more state exam with the, you know, checking of the tires?
Yeah, you know, we're not. We're not going to check the tires, we're not going to check the brakes, we're not going to check your tail lights, we're not going to check your wipers. We're not going to check that anymore. You want to know why? Because every study that's been done shows that it does nothing, zero, to increase safety on the roadways. Nothing. And every state that has studied it, including our state, has come forward to the conclusion that when you compare the states who have those inspections with the states who don't, that there is no increase in the safety on the highways based upon those examinations. And so, when I was looking at the budget and I saw how much it cost the state to conduct those vehicle inspections and how much it cost you in terms of increased costs of your taxes to do those, I said, you know what? If we're not saving lives, then why are we spending the money? And in that budget, when I had to find $11 billion to cut, I got to tell you something, every dollar needed to be justified. And so it was a fact-based determination by me in comparing all the other states, and the legislature bought onto it and voted for its elimination, because now I think it's 40 states now that don't do any further, you know, those type of physical inspections of vehicles. So that's why we stopped doing it.
Well, I just hope the police can stop us to see if somebody doesn't have any brakes or doesn't have any lights, and actually, you know, they enforce that law. So we're going to have a lot of people who are not even going to bother to get their brakes examined.
Well, let me tell you this, well, listen, but in 40 other states that we examined, it did not increase safety on the highways one bit. And for those guys and women who don't have their brake lights, I suspect that there will be good police officers across the state of New Jersey who will pull those folks over and suggest to them that they'd rather put a fix on pay a fine. Yes, ma'am.
Brothers and big sisters. There are many groups out there. I'm not advocating that. My question to you is this: what else can I do? I had an unusual situation with my little sister. I was helping her with math. We were going through the times table. I bought the flashcards. I said to her, "Oh, sweetie," I said, "Sweetie, tell me, why are you struggling so much in math?" And she said to me, "I don't know." And I said, "Why? What do you mean you don't know?" She said, "My teacher doesn't care, so why should I care?" I said to her, "What do you mean?" She says, "It doesn't matter if I know it or not. I'm still going to pass." And what I'm asking you today is, as a citizen of this country, what can I do besides help one child?
Well, first of all, your involvement with Big Brothers Big Sisters is going to be an extraordinary help first, because what we've learned from the Harlem Children's Zone and from other programs like that is that an extra hour a week that you spend with a child on something like that has a geometric effect on their achievement. Just even an extra hour, just an extra hour that you'll be spending as a mentor, as a big brother, big sister to a child. So that, don't minimize that, because that's an enormous commitment on your part to try to help someone who really needs that kind of help. Really off of the question that the woman in the back asked me before about, you know, kids who don't have those kind of role models in their lives, you can be one. The other one is to speak up and be an advocate. You know, in this state, the special interests pay tens of millions of dollars to have advocates speak out for them. They pay enormous six-figure salaries to the people who run their organizations in order to make sure that their voice is heard. And they do those things every day, and they do that with over $130 million when it comes to the New Jersey Education Association of dues money a year to buy lobbyists, to make campaign contributions, to pay for attack ads on TV and radio against those people who dare to speak out against them. So for those people who want to advocate the other side of the argument, what do? We need an army of people. We need you to go to school boards and say, what are you doing about this? We need you to go to that little sister's school and say, why does she feel this way? Why does she think she's going to pass no matter what? I demand something better for this child. I mean, it's not going to get fixed in a global way overnight. It's going to get fixed by leadership at the top who's unafraid to advocate for things that are politically risky. And you've got to reward those folks who stand up and do those things by contributing to the cause as well. And I will tell you, I tell this story all the time because I know that people are really cynical about their ability to have an effect on their government. And I understand that, but 15 years ago, I was a freeholder in Morris County. I was 32 years old. I was brand new to elected office. And yeah, I was young and enthusiastic about it. And we used to have our meetings every other Wednesday night, at 8 o'clock at night, at the courthouse complex in Morristown. Now, at these public meetings, there would usually be the 7 freeholders, our staff, a reporter from the Star-Ledger, and a reporter from the Morris Daily Record, and that was it. And we were spending tens of millions of dollars of taxpayer money, and we're within a taxpayer within shouting distance of the place. And off we would go doing our job. One night, a young woman showed up. It was in the winter. She had a trench coat on, and she sat in the public meeting room about 10 minutes to 8. Well, there's one freeholder who still happens to be in public office, so I won't use the freeholder's name. But there was one freeholder who spotted this woman sitting there. And this freeholder came over. We had all 7 of our offices right in a row. Went from office to office and said, go look in the meeting room. There's somebody here. What do you think she wants? Do you know her? Do you know where she's from? Go look, go look. And these freeholders were running, like, you know, coming down, peeking in the room, right? They all came back. I don't know. I don't know where she's from. And they finally, since I was the youngest and the newest, I was in the last office on the end. So they finally got to me. They were like, you gotta go look. You know what she's doing here. No one knows her. All 6 of us, Chris, went to look and no one knows her. And I'm like, I'm new to this, but public meeting. We have it open to the public section of the meeting. My guess is she's a member of the public who has a question. You know, well, you can't imagine the tension. The tension in that room. Here's this young woman, looked to me like in her mid-30s. When we got into the room and the meeting started, she took the trench coat off and she had a nice business suit underneath. She sat there and listened to the whole beginning of the meeting. And the second to last item on the agenda is the open to the public section. So the freeholder director says, this is now the portion of the meeting where it's open to the public. If there's anyone in the public who has a question for us, please approach the microphone. You have a limit of 5 minutes. And this woman gets up, she walks up to the microphone, and you could cut the tension with a knife. And she said, hi, and she said her name, and she said, I'm from Jefferson Township. Last week I was traveling on Berkshire Valley Road, which I believe is a county road, is that right? And the freeholder said, yes it is. Well, and there was an enormous pothole, and I hit the pothole, and it was raining, and my tire went flat. And so I had to call my husband, and he had to come out, and late at night he had to help me change the tire. And I just would like to know when you intend to kind of do repairs to Berkshire Valley Road. So the freeholder director turned to the county engineer who was there and said, what are we doing repaving on Berkshire Valley Road? And the county engineer had a big notebook with capital projects. And he looked and he said, oh, that'll be this summer. He said, we're going to be repairing that road, resurfacing it this summer. And she said, thank you. And she went back, got her coat on, and left. Oh my God. Awful, right? Now, you know, that was it. And there was all this stress and tension. I tell you that story so that it convinces you you can have a disproportionate effect just by showing up. There's this young woman who got a flat tire in a pothole. She showed up because she said she called the county offices and couldn't get an answer. So she said, all right, well, here's the meeting, we're going to show up. You can have a disproportionate effect by showing up. People so rarely participate in their government that by showing up, you can have a disproportionate voice and effect. If it's something you care about, show up. Show up at the school and complain. Show up at the school board meeting and voice your concern. Show up at the town council meeting. Show up at the freeholder meeting. Do those things. Show up at the legislative hearing when they're talking about an issue that you think is important. I mean, you don't have to become a professional gadfly, okay? But what you need to do is decide what's important to you and voice your opinion. You will have an effect on your elected officials that you don't believe is possible because people don't show up. And so I remember that time 15 years ago like it was yesterday, and it reminds me, and that's why I love to do these. And I've done them all over the state, both when I was running and now since I've been governor, because I like hearing from people directly. And I want them to understand that when they talk to me, I listen, and if there's something I can do about it, I will. If I know the answer, I'll tell them, and if I don't, I say I don't know. And I get their name and address and their phone number, and we get the answer once I can find out what it is. Participate in your government, and it can have effect. You don't have to be a candidate. You can just show up and demand answers, and you'll see, you're going to have quite an effect. I can take 2 more.